Welcome to the Indian Newslink podcast by Pranita Mahajan.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Indian Newslink podcast. This is Pranita, and I wanted to talk about something very interesting. Indian Newslink recently did a story this week around parenting perspectives. We wanted to delve a little into parenting, especially during the teenage years, and explore the intricacies of raising children in today's world. In today's episode, I want to talk about the fascinating realm of parenting, focusing on how mothers and fathers bring their own unique styles to the table when it comes to parenting. I thought it'll be an interesting discussion because we have all heard about how there are neurological changes to a mom's brain when there has been researches which shows that a mother's brain undergoes significant changes during pregnancy, the early years. So there have been MRI scans, there have been things that show that the gray matter in the gray matter volume, it changes. There is a notable change, particularly in the area associated with social cognition, empathy, and the ability to understand others' feelings. There is also a lot of changes in the region of the brain that is involved with emotional processing. And yes, there are a lot of changes that I think enhance a mother's ability to bond and care for the child. And there is also a term called dad brains. I'm sure we all have heard about it. Although it's not talked about as much as the maternal brain changes, but there have been researches and studies that show that fathers also undergo neurological adaptation in response to parenthood. There has been a study in the University of Denver, which has been published, and they again had some MRI scans which showed that there have been changes to the brains of new fathers. The results showed that there have been alterations in the brain regions associated with reward, motivation, and emotional regulation. Also, there has been increased level of oxytocin in fathers, which contributes to heightened caregiving nature and bonding with their child. So those are the early years, of course, and there has been a lot of research. But I think the journey really takes a turn when you come to the teenage years, because that's when you see a young adult emerging out of your child, and there is a change in their personality, in the way they're thinking, in the way they are behaving. And let's start by exploring the communication styles of mothers and fathers. Research suggests that mothers often emphasize on open communication and emotional expression, creating an environment where the teenager feels comfortable sharing their thoughts, their concerns. On the other hand, fathers mostly prioritize problem solving and providing practical advice. Dr. Jennifer Smith, who's an expert in this field, says that mothers often excel in creating an emotionally supportive environment, encouraging the teenagers to express, while the fathers, they lean more towards an action-oriented approach. They want to address the problem directly and instill a sense of responsibility in the child. Now you can see how these two approaches might conflict at times, and how they're completely different from each other. But I think that is where it can actually act like a powerful source of information and guidance for the child. The other aspect of parenting that is different when it comes to mothers and fathers is discipline. Studies have shown that mothers tend to exhibit a more nurturing and empathetic disciplinary style. They focus on understanding what is the underlying emotion or the motivation behind the teenager's behavior, Fathers, on the other hand, might emphasize rules, boundaries. They might want to highlight the consequences of these actions in order to deter if there was any negative behavior on part of the teenager. So, of course, this is not a generalized statement, and it is not something that all fathers and all mothers would do. But these studies are based on a number of examples that they would have taken into consideration, and a majority of cases that, according to them, would be most suited. Dr. Mark Johnson has said that mothers are often emotional anchors, and they act like those anchors that provide support and understanding to the teenager, especially during conflicts. Fathers may lean more towards a rule-oriented approach, emphasizing on the importance of structure and consistency, because, again, that is something which is a very important life lesson. So, that's about the discipline. Now, when it comes to the involvement in teenagers' social lives, research again, especially a study which has been led by Dr. Mary Harris, suggests that mothers often engage more in emotional support and relationship building. They try to foster connections with their teens' friends. Fathers, meanwhile, may prioritize shared activities, mentoring, and maybe using quality time to impart life skills, life values, or even sharing their own experiences. Again, these are both very varied ways to approach the same subject, but they are both equally important. So you cannot really say that one way would be better suited to the other, because for a teenager, both of these are very important. It's very important for them to feel that emotional support, that relationship building, for them to see that someone wants to know their friends, know their social group, and at the same time, someone who can highlight and mentor them and impart some good life skills. They're both equally important, and I cannot emphasize that enough. But it's interesting to see how we approach it so differently. Dr. Alan Turner has said that mothers often play the central role in creating a network of emotional support, while the fathers would contribute by providing a different perspective through a shared activity. And Dr. Turner has highlighted that both these aspects are crucial in shaping a teenager's social development. So, on that note, I think it is very clear that teenage years bring a unique set of challenges for both mothers and fathers. But it is the synergy between the maternal and the paternal parenting styles that actually becomes a very critical factor in shaping these young minds and providing the right kind of emotional well-being and a successful future. On that note, thank you so much for joining us today. We would love to hear what you think about this podcast and what you feel about this subject. If you have any personal stories, we would love for you to share them with us. Till then, wish you a great day ahead, and we'll talk soon.
Thank you for listening to the Indian Newslink podcast by Pranita Mahajan.